hope this finds you well and ready for the day, coping with everything that's happening to us at the moment, getting ready for perhaps lockdown getting a bit easier. I want to ask you a question this morning. Have you met Jesus? Have you got a testimony? Usually when you ask people for their testimony, there is a, this is what I was like before, and this is what happened to me, and then this is what I'm like now. I spoke a few weeks ago about how I worked in prison for 5 years. The governor was a lovely man who gave me a very free rein. From time to time, one of the church leaders in the local area would contact me and say, I've got this person or these people coming to my church this weekend. Would you like them at the prison? I would then go to the governor and ask him if we could have the visitors, and invariably he would say yes. Saturday afternoons were often lockdown times when prisoners were locked into their cells. But Saturday afternoons became quite regularly opportunities to go to the gym and then listen to the speakers. As you can imagine, the prisoners wanted every opportunity they could to leave their cells and mix with the others. This was obviously very carefully monitored. The speakers, though, were often a very checkered bunch. I remember some break dancers coming, very fit, very agile, and they gave a display of their talents. But then in between the displays, they gave their testimonies of how they met with Jesus and how he changed their lives. Another time, some weightlifters came. These men were really big and strong, very sensational in the weights they could lift, and they really impressed my lads. But again, they gave their testimonies of what Jesus had done for them and how he'd changed their lives. Still another time, we had 2 men came who had been nightclub bouncers. And you could tell that too. These were tough, rough and ready men. The sort you wouldn't want to meet on a dark night. But you know what? They knew Jesus. I remember one of the testimonies was given by a man I shall call John. He'd gone out to work this particular evening tooled up, which meant he was armed. He had a particular vendetta going on with a local man, and it was either kill or be killed. I remember he said he was sitting in his car before going into the club and deciding whether to take his gun into the club or not, when something happened to him. He said that he suddenly became very hot. Then he started to shake. Then he heard a voice saying to him, "This is not the road I have chosen for you." He was so shocked, he shook even more. But then he said he began to feel a strange warmth surrounding him and a peace come into his heart. He'd been filled with hatred and a desire to kill this man. Suddenly, all that was gone. He knew the presence of God right there in his car with him. He found himself, the big, tough guy, weeping and saying he was sorry over and over. And he knew that Jesus was right there with him. John went on to find a church, to find someone who could teach him the ways of God in Jesus. And the Lord had dealt so gently with him as he committed his life to following. He didn't know what the road ahead looked like, but he knew that Jesus would be with him on it. Looking at John's testimony, we can see that there was a before, a what happened, and an after. When we look at the disciples and we see their lives and we wonder about them, we see that there was a before. They had jobs, they had lives, they had families, experiences. And then they met Jesus and their lives were transformed. And you could say, well, after, when Jesus had died and rose again, after they became transformed. They were the men of God that Jesus had intended them to be. He deals with each one of us according to our needs and our skills. He's put them within us. What about you? Have you met this same Jesus? His Holy Spirit works within us to show us that this is the truth. I believe particularly at this devastating time, we are in our world that Jesus wants us to be real to each one of us, to you and to me. He knows your need. He knows your past. And just as he went to the cross to pay for the price for my sins and John's sins, he forgives you as you say you're sorry. God has got a tremendous future for us all. Will you join us in the Christian church when we are back up and running, in learning more about this Jesus? Millions throughout the world have put their trust in him, and like me and John, have found new focus, new hope, and new joy in living. I pray that that might be your experience, because through these darkest times, we can know the brightest moments. Without the shadows, we would never experience the light. I pray that you will really know the sense of Jesus with you today. Bless you.